System TES Talmud Sefirot, Part 1, Symptom Restriction and Kav Line. In a reflection, and we'll be going over Chapter 6 today. But first we'll go over the concepts. So these are the concepts we go over each time. The rules to understand Talmud Sefirot or any Kabbalah material. So we've got the first rule, which is called unnecessary, which is when we're thinking that the Kabbalah material is talking about reality, and we make it necessary when we understand that it's talking about perception. We have the second rule, which is when we think it's talking about things in the past, as in we've already gone through this, like we've already gone through breaking into vessels, or we think we've already cascaded down. That's not what we're trying to learn. That makes it impossible. What we're trying to learn is that we're going to go through these states in our future, and that's how we make it possible. And then the third rule is when we think it's talking about others, which is they're making it a secret, and we disclose it when we understand that it's talking about ourselves. So it's states of perception that we go into the future that we go through ourselves. And here are the phases that we go through from when we're born until we cross the barrier. So we're born into humanity in Rashut, phase 1. We have 4 sub-phases we go through. We've got 1.1, which is unformed humanity, which are base desires, which are for food, sex, and family. Then we've got 1.2, chaos humanity, which are business desires, which are money, honor, and knowledge. Then we get a passive point in the heart. Then we reach 1.3, darkness humanity, where we basically get religious desires, or which are religion, mysticism, or trying to get experiences like traveling and stuff like that. Then we've got 1.4, which is spiritual humanity, when we find ourselves learning Kabbalah. Then we reach phase 2, the spiritual society, Cheva Uchanit, phase 2, which is, we've got 2.1, which is unformed society, which are connection desires. When we're trying to bestow and not receive. We've got 2.2, chaos society, which is mutual guarantee, which is basically taking responsibility on that connection. Then we get our active point in the heart, and brings us to 2.3, which is darkness society, which is when we feel the society limitations, and we feel that that we haven't reached the spirituality that we thought we'd reach. Then we understand in 2.4, spirit society, that our problem is that we don't understand the concepts that we thought we understood before. Like we thought we knew what bestowal was, we thought we knew what reception was, we thought we knew what self-love was, and we thought we knew what the goal was. And then we basically have to start cleaning our concepts and understanding what they actually mean, and not just thinking of them intellectually, but actually start to internalize them. And then we reach phase 3, which is called the group, the kfutza. 3.1 is the unformed group, when we have the correct goal of becoming the creator, which means we have the correct goal of empowering ourselves, and we have focus on that. That is, all the discernments we're collecting them of how is it going to help me reach that self-empowerment, how is it going to help me reach internal power, becoming the creator. Then we reach 3.2, the chaos in the group, which is when we're making those concepts that before were intellectual, now we make them emotional. We try to feel various sensations, even if that sensation is, I don't have it, that's also a sensation. Then we reach 3.3, the darkness in the group, where we reach our pain point. I talk about this more in Article 22, Class of the Soul, where I talk about this, a different pain point for each class. Then we reach 3.4, spirit group, when we reach that anticipation, where we understand that the solution for our problem of a pain point is to increase our ego, to basically increase that focus on the goal and have that focus and determination. Then we reach phase 4, Yichidei Gula, the individual phase. We reach 4.1, which is unformed individual, when we have doubts on the path. Then we have 4.2, chaos individual, where we need to internalize the world within us. We take responsibility over the will to receive. We understand this is the area that we're going to be working in. It's also taking responsibility of everything that happened to us in the past, in the present, and the future. Then we have 4.3, darkness individual, where we start to understand that acts of bestowal are not the same as a state of bestowal, We basically have to start doing everything for self alone to really increase that intensity. And in the process, we actually feel vulnerable, that we feel that we are egoistic after all. And then we reach 4.4, spiritual individual, where we feel that excitement and elevation. We do a final correction, 4.4.2, which is where we reach that final acceptance of something, of certain quality. Each person's different. And then we reach a point where the only reason we'll cross the barrier is because we want to, not because we have to. The way normally Talmud Sefirot is taught is that if we came from Ein Sof Boundless Light all the way down to this world, Olam Hazeh, then we go back up from this world, Olam Hazeh, all the way back to Ein Sof Boundless Light, which is in reality the Metziut. We teach it a little differently. We teach it that the way you came down is not the same way you go up, but rather you go back up the exact same way you came down. So we actually go in our Tfisat Metziut, which is our perception. We go from Boundless Light. We're actually in Boundless Light in the moment in our perception, before the barrier. And then when we cross the barrier, we enter pre-ordinal man, which is Amkunmon, and we continue going until we reach the end of correction, which is actually reaching Olam Hazeh, this world. So then we have an alignment between our reality, which is in this world, and our perception, which is in this world as well. And it's called end of correction. Then we can actually start living in the world that we're actually living in our reality. Our perception is aligned to our reality, which is basically equivalence of form. So you could say it's equivalence of form to equivalence of matter. So since your matter cascaded from Boundless Light to this world, your matter must also cascade from Boundless Light to this world. And then you have equivalence of form with equivalence of matter.
And this is what's called love of the creator.
Yes, this is basically, when you reach end of correction, it's called loving yourself. This is when you truly love yourself, because you love both parts of you. You have the will to receive and you have the will to bestow. So you have the creator within you, which is the soul, which is part of the creator, part of that role. And you have your will to receive within you. And you understand that with the will to receive, it's designed to receive. And with the will to bestow, it's designed to bestow. So use the will to bestow to control and manipulate the will to receive, and use the will to receive to attract events and situations to yourself. And you have an interplay between those two forces within you. Righteous versus wicked. So the difference between someone who's uncorrected, which is called wicked, and someone who's corrected, which is righteous. When you're uncorrected, you're trying to use physical reality filling to fill a spiritual perception, power, emptiness. So you have a vessel, you have a desire for power, and you're trying to fill it with filling. You're trying to use it, food, drugs, entertainment, or any kind of other filling, or even connection. You're trying to fill a spiritual emptiness, which is a desire for power. You're trying to fill it through filling. And when you actually do receive power, you sense it as tension, because you're trying to treat it as a physical reality filling situation. So you're actually given a situation to increase your desire for more power, to increase your point in the heart, which is that desire for power. And instead of wanting to increase it for power, you're trying to use it for filling. And then you don't understand why it's not working out. And for the righteous, it's when you have a consistency where you're using filling for filling and power for power. So when you reach a situation of tension, you're turning it into a vessel for more power. You need more power to handle the situations that are in front of you. And when you're receiving filling, you're using this filling, you're understanding this is corporeal or even spiritual filling. It's just designed to make me feel good. And you're not going to mix up the two. And you basically reach that point at end of correction, which was where you love yourself. That means you justify the light coming as tension, which is for power, and you justify when it's coming as filling, to just make you feel good.
What do you mean tension?
So when you reach a situation that you can't control, that is not to run away from that situation, but rather to turn it into a desire, into a vessel, for saying, I need internal power to handle the situation. to handle the people around me, to overcome the stress of the situation, and so forth. Chapter 6. Light only attained in vessel. It is impossible for the will to receive to appear in any essence, except in 4 Bechinot Discernments, which are the 4 Otiyot letters of Havaya. Number 24. Let us elaborate a little on that issue, so as to fully understand the soft end that occurred in the kingdom. First, we shall explain what the Kabbalists have determined, and what the Tikkunim corrections of the Zohar present us. There is no or, light, great or small, in the upper Olamot worlds, or in the lower ones, that is not arranged in the order of the 4-letter name, Havaya. This goes hand in hand with the law that is brought in the tree of life, that there isn't an or, light, in the Olamot worlds that is not clothed in a kli, vessel. I've already explained the difference between his Atzmot essence and the or, light, that expands from him. That happens only due to the will to enjoy that is contained in the expanding aura light being a Shinut Tzorah, change of form, from his Atzmut essence, who does not have that Ratzon, desire. The expanding aura light is defined by the name Ne'etzal, emanated, because the Shinut Tzorah, change of form, stops the aura light from being the Matzil, emanator, and makes it a Ne'etzal, emanated. It is also explained that the will to enjoy that is contained in his aura light is also the measure of the Gadlut, greatness of the aura light. It is called the place of the aura light, meaning it receives its shefa abundance according to its measure of will to receive and yearning, not more and not less. What this is trying to say is that anytime we're going to be receiving anything, it always goes through these 4 phases. So it's going to go through, the first phase is when you're basically receiving it, but you don't have a desire for it. Then you don't receive it. And then you're going to start to desire it back in again. And when you fully desire it back in again, and it comes in, then you're actually going to enjoy it. So is this the same phases that we go through from when we're born until we cross the barrier, that we need to reach the point where we want it, when we desire it, not because it's just there, but we actually want it to happen. And that's why we cross the barrier, because we want to, not because we have to.
Yeah, I watched that the Spiritual Society one again last night about the fear, God, that's, what we have to do before we cross the barrier. That's going to be helpful. I'll review that again.
Zakai, as far as expression is concerned, using internal power, is it because you want something to happen, or is that also, does that apply there as well?
Yes, it implies in everything. So when you, let's say, reach the point when you want to use expression, you're first going to need a situation that you need to express on. That means you still need a will to receive. If there's no will to receive, there's nothing to express on. So if you don't desire for anything to change, what do you need to express your internal power on? So you're first going to go through that situation with your will to receive again. There's 4 phases. You're going to go through, we are in this situation, and then you're going to lack something in that situation, then you're going to want to desire to change it. So you still have to go through those 4 phases again with your will to receive, and then you can use the will to bestow within you to manipulate that situation accordingly.
When you say those 4 phases, you're saying what, like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, like the 4 phases of the direct light, that same path?
Yes, that's what it's saying here. The 4 Otiyot of Havaya is saying the 4 Bechinot, the 4 Discernments, the 4 phases.
Right. And how would we describe, let's say, how would we describe, let's say, the 4 Discernments? Like in phase 1, it just receives, it doesn't even have a desire, saying, like, what? How would we basically apply it to our process of how we're doing things? So
phase 1 is when you're just in a situation. So there's no desire there, you're just there.
Right.
In phase 2, you're already feeling a discrepancy. You're feeling what you don't have.
Right.
And then in phase 3 and phase 4, you're building that desire to actually change it.
Right. Okay.
That's why phase 2 is critical, because if you feel that you lack something, how can you have it afterwards?
But the lack has to be real too. I mean, it can't be fake lack. It has to be real lack, no?
Well, the idea is that the will to bestow within you can make those changes on the will to receive, so it can give it that lack. You've basically got that interplay between the will to bestow and the will to receive. The will to receive does the attraction. The will to bestow does the pushing away, right? The control mechanism. So the will to bestow controls the will to receive and can make the will to receive attract a situation to it. So who's doing the manipulation, the expression? The will to bestow. Who's, you could say, desiring the change is the will to receive.
Right. Now, can the will to bestow create lacks in the will to receive as well? Like create artificial desires, you could say, or artificial lacks?
Well, then it's not artificial if it actually exists. So if you actually change the will to receive, it's not artificial.
Right, if it actually works, right?
Right. The idea is the difference before the barrier and after the barrier. Before the barrier, it happens subconsciously, this whole control mechanism of the will to bestow within you.
Right.
And then after the barrier, you gain more and more consciousness to actually do it to yourself instead of waiting it to be done consciously. Let's continue. 4 discernments. It also explains that this will to receive is the entire chidush, innovation, that was renewed in the creation of the olamot worlds by way of making existence from absence. This tzura form alone is not at all incorporated in his atzmut essence, and the Creator has only now created it for the purpose of creation. This is the meaning of and create darkness, because this tzura form is the shorish root for the darkness due to the shinut change of form in it. For this reason, it is darker than the aura light that expands within her and because of her. Now you can see that any aura light that expands from him instantly consists of 2 features. Number 1, the first feature is the etzmut, essence of the aura light that expands before the tzura form of the will to enjoy appears. The second feature comes after the tzura form of the will to enjoy appears, at which time it becomes more of-course and somewhat darker because of the acquisition of the shinut change of form. Thus the first feature is the aura light, and the second is the kli vessel. For that reason, any expanding aura light consists of 4 chinot, discernments, in the impression on the kli vessel. That is because the form of the will to receive, called kli vessel, to the aura light that expands in it, is not completed all once, but by way of operator and operated. There are 2 bechinot in the operator and 2 bechinot discernments in the operated, called potential force and actual force in the operator, and potential force and actual force in the operated, which make up 4 bechinot discernments. This is what we talked about, that phase 1, which is humanity, and phase 2, which is the spiritual society, you're basically in the state of the operator. That is, you're being operated on. And then you have the phase 3, which is the group, and phase 4, which is the individual, where you're actually the operated, and therefore you actually are the operator, you could say. And the idea is you've got phase 1 humanity, which is the potential force, and phase 2, which is the actual force, and then you've got the same thing in phase 3, potential force, and phase 4, actual force. And the idea is that every state you go through, so in phase 1 and phase 2, phase 3 and phase 4, it's broken up into 2 parts. You've got the first 2 subphases, 1.1 and 1.2, which are the first feature, where it says the etzmut, the essence of the aura light that expands before the tzura form of the will to enjoy appears. That means before we feel that something has to change. That's in 1.1, 1.2, you're basically born into a world, and you're doing exactly as you're designed to, and it's fine. It's only when the second feature comes, right, which is when you reach that 1.3 and 1.4, that's when you want a change to happen. You're not happy in humanity, you're reaching that darkness, right? So that's what it says, it's somewhat darker. You're reaching that darkness in spirit before your second phase, which is the spiritual society. And then the same thing happens to you in the spiritual society, where at the beginning, you're just in that state, and you're just happy in that state, and that's 2.1, 2.2, and you're happy to be part of the spiritual society, and you're doing exactly what you're meant to do in that phase 2. And then when you reach 2.3 and 2.4, that's already when you want something to change. You're like, the spiritual society is not enough for me. I need something more. I need a more intense, I need a more dense group that will actually work on me as an individual and not just this general connection that I was happy with beforehand in 2.1 and 2.2. Right? So that's when you're reaching that change. Right? The second feature comes after the tzara form of the word to enjoy appears, which time it becomes more coarse and somewhat darker because of the acquisition of shinut tzara, change of form. And that's why we say that in 1.3 you get the passive point in the heart. That's what makes you want to reach the spiritual society. And in 2.3 you reach the active point in the heart. And that's what makes you want to reach the group. And then in 3.3 you reach the active point in the heart, which is why you want to work with an individual. So every time you've got those previous sub-phases before a phase to actually make you want to work into it.
Zakai?
Yes.
This slide, the 4 discernments. This, for me, I mean, I can read this, and when you read it, I understand this, but I would like to see some type of diagram of this.
I agree. I'll set it up.
Thank you.
No problem.
Is that it? I mean,
No, we'll move on to the next slide.
oh, okay.
If you look at the bottom, I always do it that the line shows an end of an item. And if
Right.
it's empty, then it says there's more. And if it's full, then it means it's the last one.
I thought this was the sign for the last one. That's
No,
all
this is a sign for the end of an item.
Oh, okay.
Potential and actual. The will to receive does not permeate the Netzal emanated except through his own desire to receive of his own choice. Number 25. Because the Kli vessel is the shorish root of the darkness, as it is opposite from the Or light, it must therefore start to operate slowly and gradually, by way of cause and consequence. This is the meaning of the verse, the waters were conceived and begot in darkness. Midrash Rabbah, Shemot 80:22. The darkness is a result of the Or light itself and is operated by it, as in conception and birth, meaning potential and actual. This means that in any expanding Or light, the will to receive is necessarily incorporated. However, it is not regarded as a shinut tzora, change of form, before this ratzon, desire, is clearly set in the Or light. The will to receive that is incorporated in the Or light by the Ma'atzil emanator is not enough for that. But the Ma'atzil emanated himself must independently display that will to receive in him, an action, meaning of his own choice. This means that he must extend shefa, abundance, through his own will, more than the measure of the Or light, of the Pashtut expansion in him, by the Ma'atzil emanator. After the Netzal emanated, it's operated by his own choice, increasing the measure of his own desire, The yearning and the will to receive become fixed in him, and the Or light can clothe this Kli vessel permanently. So you can see what it says here, that to actually cross the barrier, you need to build a desire, a yearning, but it has to feel like it's your own choice. You have to want it, not because of pain in your life, but because of the importance of the goal itself. And when you reach that fixed yearning, then the light, which means crossing the barrier, can actually happen. You can actually reach the light. The light is the will to bestow, and the Kli is the will to receive. So that's when the will to bestow can clothe the will to receive permanently. Instead of it being actions of bestowal, it becomes a state of bestowal. You're in that state forever. Boundless light. It is true that Or Ein Sof, boundless light, seemingly expands over all 4 Bechinot discernments, reaching the full measure of the Ratzon desired by the Netzal, emanated himself, being Bechinah Dalet, fourth discernment. That is because he would not go beyond his own Atzmut essence anyhow, and acquire a name for himself, meaning Ein Sof, boundless. However, the Tzura form did not change at all, because the will to receive in his almightiness. And there is no change distinguished there between the Or light and the place of the Or light, which is the will to enjoy. They are one and the same thing. It is written in Pirkei Avot that before the Olam world was created, there was He is one and His name one. it is indeed difficult to understand this double reference, he and his name. What has his name got to do there before the Olam world was created? He should have said before the Olam world was created, he was one. However, this refers to Or Ein Sof, Boundless Light, which is prior to the Tzimtzum restriction. Even though there is a place there and a will to receive the Shefa abundance from his Atzmut essence, it is still without change and differentiation between the Or Light and the place. He is one, meaning Or Ein Sof, Boundless Light. His name one is the will to enjoy that is incorporated there without any change whatsoever. You must understand what our sages implied, that his name is Ratzon, desire, in Gematria, meaning the will to enjoy. What this means is that you think that if I've got before the barrier a will to receive, and you've got the will to bestow, you would think there'd be a change of form in there, because this is the will to receive and this is the will to bestow. The reason why there isn't a change of form is because what do you want? What you want to receive is the will to bestow. So you don't want to receive something from the will to bestow. You want to receive the will to bestow itself. And because you want to receive the will to bestow itself, that's why it says before the Olam world, which means before the restriction, before you cross the barrier, there was his one and his name one, which means what you desired is the quality itself. And therefore there's no change of form. So beforehand, before you reach this state before the barrier, there's a change of form. Because what you want is filling. You don't want power. But when you want power, that means you want you want the power itself. And since the quality of bestowal is power, and what you want is power, then there's a quality that does not change of form. But when you want filling, there's a change of form since power is not filling. So then there's a change of form from power to filling. And that's why you don't get it. So the idea, what we're trying to do before the barrier, is really build that desire for power and not for filling. And when we reach that point, that 4.4.4, when we have a desire for power, then we actually get it.
That power to bestow is what you're saying?
Yeah. So the power to control your life. So you could say the will to receive filling that we're born with just wants filling. That means it just wants to feel good. The power is not to feel good. Power is to change things, right? You could say to change the world. But then you could say, well, don't many people want to change the world? The difference is, how are you going to change the world? Are you going to change the world by changing things externally? That is through external manipulation, through external power? Or are you going to change the world through internality, through internal power? And you could say one of the big differences between external power and internal power, because external power is filling, after all, only one person can have it. So either you're king or I'm king. We can't both be king. With internal power, it actually works that the more you empower others, the more you actually gain power. So for a person to become the most powerful being on earth, he actually has to make everybody else become the most powerful being on earth. Because only then can he feel as the most powerful being on earth, and everyone else will feel that as well. So it's an inclusive concept, and that's the big difference between external power and internal power. With internal power, it's inclusive. One of the things you actually do when you get internal power is you want to empower others for you to have more power. And with external power, you actually want to subdue others. You want to make others under your rule. You don't want people to have power. You don't want them to have knowledge. You don't want them to have the ability to do things because it takes away your ability for you to do things. So you can really see that difference between corrected power, which is internal power, and uncorrected power, which is external power.
So you want to be using your internal power that you create as the creator to empower everyone else, which thereby bestows back upon you, the creator, empowering you even more.
Exactly. So it's very important to always have the goal of self-empowerment, but you do that through others. And that's the idea. From love of friends, we reach love of the creator.
That's what I was just going to say. Through love of friends, you find love of the creator and love of yourself.
Exactly. Boundless Kingdom. All the olamot in the thought of creation, all the worlds in the thought of creation, are called Or Ein Sof, Boundless Light. And the sum total of the receivers there is called Malchut the Ein Sof, Kingdom of Boundless. Number 26. It has already been explained regarding the act ends in the preliminary thought, that it is the thought of creation that expanded from his Atzmut, essence, in order to delight his creatures. We have learned that in him, the thought and the Or light are one and the same thing. It therefore follows that Or Ein Sof Boundless Light that expanded from his Atzmut essence contains the entire reality before us through the end of the future correction. This is the end of the act, because in him, all the creations are already complete with all the joy that he wished to bestow upon them. The entire reality is in complete satisfaction. It's called Or Ein Sof Boundless Light, and that which contains them is called Malchut Ein Sof, Kingdom Boundless. Basically, before the barrier, you're in acceptance that everything you see in reality is going to be a place of work. So it means it's already corrected in potential. Afterwards, you're going to work on correcting it in actuality. You're going to actually able to use the world to actually empower yourself, and then afterwards reach the point where you're going to start empowering others and bring that from potential into actuality as well. So the idea is that boundless light is when you understand this is my entire place to work with in potential. And then you can cross the barrier. And then you go through the training and various other states until into correction. And then you can really focus on empowering others. Because you can only love others when you love yourself. This is the last slide. Any final questions?
This was the last slide?
Yeah, you can see it still at the bottom.
Okay, I see. I thought it was amazing, man. I really enjoyed this piece by Baal Salam. He really, I don't know, I think he did a great job.
You can see it sounds a little different when you talk about it as the scaling of reality and when you talk about it from the perspective of the individual.
Totally different. Brings out exactly what you need to do when you talk about it to the individual compared to the other men.
So the difference is when you refer it without the individual, you're basically talking about something that has no effect on you. It's like, it's very nice that this is nice history and stuff, but what's the point?
It's like abstract, you mean?
Exactly. And the idea is to make
Without
it
matter?
Yeah, it's abstract forms. So you have to make it form within matters. What does this got to do with me? How does this, but to think that you first have to become more egoistic, right? Because someone's more egoistic thinks about himself. And so to learn information and pertain it to you requires more egoism than just learning something abstract. And that's one of the reasons why we need to really increase that will to receive, to zone into yourself. And then you can reach that quality of bestowal, which is to express it to others. Centrifugal waves going out. And one of the problems is that people want to always skip to the second part, which is the bestowal, without understanding that they first have to have the reception. And that's why it's very important before the barrier to really focus on wanting to receive the quality of bestowal, to receive bestowal. And that's why it sounds opposite. You think, well, isn't receiving bestowal, isn't then opposite? Isn't that a change of form? And it says, no, there's no change of form, because what do you want to receive? You want to receive bestowal. You don't want to receive the result of bestowal. You don't want to receive the cascading that bestowal did into reality that became filling, from power to filling. You want to receive the quality of bestowal itself. You want to receive power. And therefore you have equivalence of form, not change of form.
Yeah, that whole explanation is just incredible. It really is amazing.
So you're seeking the state of bestowal.
What were you saying, Rick?
I said, so what you're actually doing is you're seeking the state of bestowal.
Exactly. And that's why in that 4.3, you're working on getting rid of thinking that actions of bestowal is what's going to fill you up. Because if you don't reach that conclusion, then you're like, well, why do I actually need the quality of bestowal since I've already got bestowal? It's like, no, you had actions of bestowal. That means you'll constantly have to run after situations where you're helping others to make yourself feel good. It is to be in a state of bestowal. So you don't have to run after anything. You can sit on your couch doing nothing and still feel bestowal because you're in a state of bestowal instead of having to constantly run after altruistic deeds to feel bestowal.
So you've internalized it.
Yes. And that can only happen when you actually have a true yearning and desire for it. All right, I think we'll stop here and enter the after party.